What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cinephile Diaries on this deliciously awful hair day. If you're watching the podcast, I apologize. It's like it's gotten worse since I sat down to start recording. It's actually awful. But yeah, we're doing it. This is episode 19, I believe. I just took a week off because I didn't really watch anything, and they're like I don't know. I don't know. It was not the best week, so I don't know. I needed to take a day, um, I guess take a day. I mean, I took a week, but I also I still posted YouTube shorts, and yeah. The YouTube channel has been doing, I'm actually really surprised at how well the YouTube channel has been doing, by the way. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, this is going to be a great show. It's going to be a pretty typical show. There's one thing that I'm going to try, and I'm going to do that first. So we'll get that out of the way, and we'll see if it works or not. But yeah, I think that this is going to be a pretty typical show. I got through 3 movies, just like the last one, and 2. Well, one of them is a show. One of them is a movie that I've talked about already on the show before. And then yeah, we're gonna talk about Yellow Jackets because that has ended. That's the second season of Yellow Jackets has ended. And then we're gonna talk about Ted Lasso, which is leading up to its ending. It's leading up to what is supposed to be the final episode of the show, which is crazy. It's crazy that show's come to a close, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's go ahead and jump into what we got today. Let's do this. Okay, so as you lovely folks know, I have been kind of wrestling with the length of my show and trying to figure out what the right balance is of talking about all the things I want to talk about while not boring an audience to death. So, in the interest of doing that, I'm going to try a thing. I have 5 things I want to talk about, and I'm going to try and do it very quickly. I'm going to try and do it in a very, very short period of time, and then we'll get into the actual, Yellow Jackets, Ted Lasso, all of that. But there is 5 other things that I wanted to mention that I've been watching. The first is, and this is weird because it just ended. The show just ended, but I've seen the first 2 episodes of Succession season 1. Absolutely incredible show. It's weird because the reputation of Succession is it's the best show on TV. It's one of the best shows ever made. And I know I'm not there yet. I know whatever happened, whatever the sauce is, I know it's not I know it's not the best show ever made yet. I'm sure that happens at some point this season or in season 2 or something, but that has not happened yet. But still, the show was incredible. I'll be honest, I watched the first episode and didn't really I paid attention, but I barely paid attention. I put it on and just got sidetracked. But then I did not stop thinking about it for the entire next day. I did not stop, the thing with the $1 million with Roman and cousin Greg. I did not stop thinking about anything that happened in the episode. And I barely paid attention. Any show that can do that is doing something right. And I think the key to it is how incredible these characters are. Every single one of them. Roman, Shiv, I'm trying to be careful because I haven't gotten stuff spoiled, but it's very much like a Twitter show, and I spend way too much time on Twitter. So I've seen some people reacting to the finale, and there's been some spoilers on Twitter. But Shiv might be my favorite character so far, just because she's so interesting, and the way Sarah Snook plays her is so fascinating. And even it's weird because you hear all these stories about Jeremy Strong, who plays Kendall, who's the main character of the show, but so far he seems like the straight man. He seems like the normal guy. He definitely has something to prove to his father, and he's got some daddy issues, and he's got some stuff he's working on. But he seems like the most normal dude on the show, other than the fact that he's clearly getting over some addiction and has a very fractured relationship with his wife. But you know what I'm saying? He feels the most normal, whereas Shiv and Roman both seem a little bit crazy. So you hear all this stuff about Jeremy Strong being a method actor and whatnot. That's fascinating to me. I cannot wait to see where that goes. And Brian Cox, he's only really in the first episode, and I mean, obviously he's in the rest of the show, but he has a brain hemorrhage at the end of the first episode. He's incredible. He's amazing. Yeah, Succession. I'm 2 episodes in. It's incredible. It's amazing, and I feel like it's only gonna get better. The second thing I want to talk about, my buddy, my boy, Izzy, who a friend of the show, who's been on, not the show, but he's been on a video before. Recommended a show on Netflix that came out earlier this year called Beef. I had heard of it because it once again did a lot of rounds on Twitter, and everybody on Twitter loved it. It's really good. Like, I haven't even begun to unpack Beef because it's so dense and so layered. But it's really good. Like, the way just the way these two people, in this one moment of like weakness almost, descend into, and it like literally consumes their life. This one moment of rage, and it literally consumes their entire life. Yeah, Beef is really good. There's some stuff in like episode 3 when he goes to church, that like hit like that. I have not even begun to unpack this show, and I cannot wait to unpack it and watch more and read more and all that. Beef is really good. The third show that I've been watching, there was 3 things, right? Well, I've been watching a show called Unicorn Warriors Eternal on Max. Can we just talk about the HBO Max thing? It's so dumb. Why would you take one of the most recognizable brands in show business in HBO that has a 30-year reputation for top shelf television and get rid of the HBO and just call it Max? That's the least, like in terms of marketing, somebody needs to be fired. That's the least marketable, Googleable name for anything ever. It's really dumb. Anyway, Unicorn Warriors Eternal. I've done a couple shorts on this. It's really, really good. It starts off like kind of generic. Like the first like 5 or 10 minutes of the first episode, it's an animated show on Adult Swim, so it's 22-minute episodes. The first like 5 or 10 minutes of the first episode feels a little bit generic. Like they just like, there's Merlin and, you know, stereotypical elf swordsman guy and stereotypical monk spiritual guy and stereotypical superpowered witch lady. But the more you get into it, because then episode 1 because then like it's a show where like these mantles are passed down from generation to generation. So then you get to the point of like this, and like there's a robot named Copernicus. Oh my god, I just remembered something that happened in the last episode that I kind of forgot about. Wow, no spoilers. But there's a robot called Copernicus who goes into hiding and then will come out and awaken these heroes at the moments that they're needed in history. Which is and it's really cool. It's really cool. But then you get into like it's set in 1870s London. It's a steampunk show, which is also awesome. You're in 1870s London, and it tells the story of one of the people who will be inhabited by these heroes. And there's this like conflict between the hero and the normal person that she's going to inhabit. And the show just does a really, really good job of like, that's just a really, really interesting dynamic of one person who has a higher calling or has this calling, and that calling itself coming into conflict with one another and their 2 separate lives, because the generic elf dude that I mentioned earlier is in love with the witch lady, but the the person that the witch lady inhabits in 1870s London, none of what I'm saying makes any sense, and I apologize. But the person that the witch lady inhabits in 1870s London is like literally engaged in getting married to another guy. So it's like this weird love triangle. I don't know. And then like the most recent episode really clicked. Like it really clicked what the show's about, what they're doing. Unicorn Warriors Eternal is really good. It's by Genndy Tartakovsky, who did Clone Wars 2003, Samurai Jack, Powerpuff Girls, Primal, Generator Rex, I think. Yeah, Tartakovsky's been around forever. He's done nothing but good stuff for a long time. Yeah, that show's really good. I could have swore there was 5 things. I should write this stuff down. Succession, Beef, Unicorn, and then like I didn't watch the whole thing, so I'm not gonna do a whole segment on it. But when I got up this morning, a movie called Sink the Bismarck was on TV, which is a movie from like the 50s, and I saw the last like 30 minutes of it, and I'm always surprised when old movies are as good as they are. And I know that sounds very Gen Z loser of me. But like when I see like a movie from this year that has great action, great tension, great character work, I'm not that surprised by it because like we have the most ability to control the medium now. Whereas back then, they had to do everything for real and they had to get it done. And the cameras were huge and sets were even louder than they are today. So it was much harder to make a movie and make it engaging. Sink the Bismarck has a really, really good tension. The cat and mouse game of trying to find the ship is really, really good. And then the last like 10 minutes, the actual battle to sink the Bismarck, it is awesome. It was like one of the coolest things I've seen in a minute. Yeah, old movies, they're all good. They're not all good, but old movies, they are good. They are actually really good. Yeah, I honestly like there was a fifth thing, I swear, but I cannot remember what it was. I cannot remember what the fifth thing was. That's really dumb of me. Anyway, we'll come back to it if I remember it. Let's jump into the next section of this show, Yellow Jackets, because we got to talk about this show, dude. Wait. I remembered it. I did that. Big brain. My brain works. I swear my brain works. I promise you my brain works. I swear. Okay. On Disney Plus, there is a new fantasy show called American Born Chinese. I am 6 episodes in, 6 out of 8 episodes in. It's got Michelle Yeoh. It's basically a how Everything Everywhere reunion. It's got Michelle Yeoh. It's got Ke Huy Quan. It's got Stephanie Sue is in it. I even like, oh god, I can't remember his name. The Gong Gong from Everything Everywhere. I can't remember his name. He's an actor who's been in the business for 80 years. He has 300 credits. He's incredible, and I cannot remember his name right now. Juliette Lewis. No, that's a old joke about Yellow Jackets from a long time ago, but I can't remember his name. Anyway, this show's weird. Like it's good. It's good. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm gonna finish it. Like I think it's good. I was just not expecting. Okay, so basically it's like this kid who goes to a school and then this new kid shows up, very classical, and the new kid is like the son of the Monkey King, Sun Wukong, who is like a very major figure in Chinese mythology and it's a very fun fantasy show. There's martial arts. It's really cool. Do y'all remember in like Mandalorian episode 2 when I talked about how I was kind of jealous of today's kids, the Saturday morning shows that they get? Because this does feel a lot like Power Rangers. This gave me some nostalgia for like goofy makeup effects and fun martial arts and very clear stories. Um, Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good. Like, I haven't finished it, so I can't speak to like the payoff, but I think it's good. Michelle Yeoh is really good. Kiwi Kiwi Kwan is really good. Like, he's always really good. I'm curious because the way he plays in the story is he's only been seen like in the past because he's a television star in the show, so he's only been seen on TV until like the last episode that I watched, and now he's like an actual character in the show. So I'm curious to see how he plays into it. But yeah, the show, it's good. It's good. The martial arts is fun. The mythology is fun. Yeah, there's an episode that like literally flashes back to like it plays like a 70s martial arts show, and it tells the story of some Wukong Monkey King. That's really fun. Although like it felt a little bit weird because like everything like the makeup effects look almost exactly like Planet of the Apes, like the old Planet of the Apes, which is weird. But it's actually like I can't decide if it works or not. Like I can't decide if it works or not. But I also like I will never not be a hardcore defender of cheesy stuff. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think American Born Chinese is actually really good and really interesting. Um, yeah. Anyway, now we can like move on to the rest of it. Now let's talk about Yellow Jackets. Now, okay, so the second half of Yellow Jackets season 2. I put out a YouTube short the week before the finale that was like, this show might be the only returning season of a show this year that has not been disappointing. Ted Lasso has been great. Don't get me wrong. We're gonna talk about Ted Lasso, my favorite show of all time. It's been great. But there's been it's the first season of Ted Lasso where I feel like there's been a couple of episodes, really just one, that's a straight misfire. It's a straight like that just didn't work at all. It's been a little bit disappointing. Mandalorian season 2, another one of my favorite shows of all time. I really enjoy or Mandalorian season 3. I really enjoyed Mandalorian season 3. But it abandoned the character in a lot of ways that I fell in love with, so it wasn't really Mandalorian anymore. And then some of the writing this season was just really weak. So it's been a little bit disappointing. Yellow Jackets just feels like it got better and better because that's the thing about the show is it just builds in the insanity, and it builds in like the craziness of watching these teenage girls eat each other and then watching the surviving girls in the present day also be crazy and just be damaged, and be it's kind of like watching a train wreck. It's great. It really really works. Also, like, and I think I talked about this last time. I love the addition of Callie, Shauna's daughter, in the present day. I love what she brings to the whole thing. Um, and I love Greg. Yeah, I think his name is Greg. I think Shauna's husband's name is Greg. I love Greg in the present day. He's really fun and really funny, and I love just how like these are some of the worst parents in the world. You're literally making your daughter an accomplice in a murder. And then I love how the cop, because there's this undercover cop that like kind of like very grossly seduces Cassie. Well, he doesn't seduce her, but like he goes undercover and like they're at a bar, and he doesn't like sleep with her, but like he forms a relationship with her. That he's just so gross, and that guy turns out to be such an asshole, like such an awful human being that you just love to hate him, and you want to like see him get his comeuppance. I just said comeuppance in 2023. That's wild. Um, but yeah, you just love to hate this officer, and then yeah, and then like I would say like the at least in these last few episodes, past, outside of the thing with Misty and Crystal, that was really, or Kristen, that was really cool. That was like, because like Misty finally found someone. Misty has always been looking for belonging, and she does awful things to get it. Like, going back to season 1, when they first crash, and she finally feels useful for the first time because she knows some first aid and she's doing tourniquets and stuff. And she finds the black box. She finds the thing that could get them out of there, and she destroys it. Because she feels useful for the first time in her life. She feels wanted for the first time in her life. Yeah, that's like, she's kind of a tragic character, but it's just, the whole show is watching these characters who are played by incredibly likable people and who are incredibly likable themselves do the worst things imaginable and make the dumbest decisions on earth. Yeah, I also love the addition of Elijah Wood, just because Elijah Wood popping up is really cool. And I love that he's just infatuated with Misty. Not even like romantically, just he's obsessed with her because she challenges him intellectually. So he's willing to do anything for her. I love that addition. What else did I love about this season? I love Lottie. I love Lottie, especially in the flashbacks. I love what they did with Lottie in the flashbacks. And I love that, like, at first, like, at the end of season 1, when you see her, like, making a sacrifice to the wilderness, and you think, oh god, I remember thinking, oh, she's the big bad of the entire show. She's the big bad of the entire show. And then they spend like the first 6 episodes, 8 episodes of this season, being really kind to Lottie, making Lottie seem like she's actually figured some stuff out. And then you realize she hasn't, and this show is kind of all about unresolved trauma and unresolved pain. And you realize that Lottie has a whole lot of unresolved pain. The one thing I will say, and this is spoilers, this is full spoilers, so if you haven't seen Yellow Jacket Season 2 and you have any interest in Yellow Jacket Season 2 or Season 1, which you should, it's an incredible show. The way they use Natalie in the present, I was not a huge fan of, because I don't like, Natalie has so much unresolved stuff. When we meet her in season 1, she's just getting out of rehab. She goes to find Travis. Travis has died. Travis has killed himself. And so then she spends that entire first season trying to resolve that trauma, and it ends with her like literally putting a gun to her chin because she can't resolve it. And then she gets rescued by Lottie. Rescued, like she actually pictures it as rescued. And she joins this wellness retreat with Lottie, and it actually has an effect on her life. It actually helps her, which felt weird to me. Like, it went from Nat being this incredibly fiery human being, this incredibly fiery, mad, bitter, angry human being, like this incredibly spirited human being, to kind of a hippy dippy, let's all resolve our trauma. I don't know. It felt a little bit out of character, and she felt sidelined. Like, for the first half of the season, the story with like the Nicole Maines character was great, was awesome. But then like both of those kind of get sidelined in the last like 2 or 3 episodes once you get the team back together. I don't know, something about the team being back together just didn't work for me as well, and I don't really know what it was. I did love that, like, once you realize Lottie is still not healed, and she delves back into, let's do some murder, let's do some cannibal shit. It delves back into that. I love the fact that they all put you get to see the modern day girls in the masks, and you get to see the way they immediately become consumed by that rage again. They immediately go back to, 1993 in the middle of the wilderness. Yeah, I liked that. But then, so Natalie feels sidelined for the last like 4 or 5 episodes, for the last like 3 or 4 episodes, and then she dies. It just, I wanted, like, that's one of those characters that I really wanted to resolve her mess. Like, I don't know, I just really liked her. And then she dies. And it feels like, I know what it does for Misty, because Misty's the one who accidentally kills her. Like, I know what it does for Misty, because it adds to Misty's issues. So now she has to deal with that, and she has to like work on her own stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I really liked Nat, and I really liked Juliette Lewis. Could not remember that name the last time I talked about this show. I really liked the performance that Juliette Lewis was giving. So yeah, I don't know. I still thought the season was really good. But yeah, I did not feel like killing off Nat did not feel right to me. I'll be honest. But yeah, I do love what they're doing with Nat in the past. And I heard a theory about the Antler Queen, because the show opens with a girl running through the wilderness, and she falls into a trap, and there's spikes at the bottom of the trap, and she dies. And then like all the girls in masks, so you don't see who's who. Take the body, chop up the body, cook the body, and eat the body. And that's the opening of the show. That's the very first. That's like the very first episode. And at the center of that is this one girl who we don't see, who's got like a veil draped over her face and antlers sticking out of the veil. And the fans have called her the Antler Queen. I heard a theory that the Antler Queen was not actually a title, was not actually the Antler Queen. It was a mourning veil, because like when Javi dies, Javi also died. Javi, who's Travis's brother. Names. Go watch the show. Go watch the show and come back. But Travis's brother Javi dies, and it's Travis who gives the girls permission to use the body to eat, to feed. So I heard a theory that was the genesis of the Antler Queen, because the Antler Queen in the first episode is who gives permission for the girls to eat, which is a really interesting thought, really interesting like take. Yeah, this season was good. I thought this season was good. I'm a little bit like, I'm worried about every season of television for the next like year, because of the writer's strike, because you know what happened in the last one. Yeah, like a bunch of shows went to pot in the last one. Although I actually think Supernatural season 3, which is the writer's strike season, is actually my favorite season of the show. Actually, so I don't know, but it is much shorter. It is much shorter, and like the ending is kind of, I don't know if it's rushed, but it's weird. But yeah, that's my take on Yellow Jackets season 2. Let me know what you thought about it down below. Let's jump into Ted Lasso. This is gonna be fun. I'm actually really excited for this. Okay, so Ted Lasso season 3, episodes 10 and 11. This is a really good couple episodes. It's weird because it's been a couple weeks since I've seen 10, and I remember really, really not vibing with like the first half of the episode. I remember really, really, but I don't remember what. I mean, I know it starts off with Nate having left West Ham, like Nate leaves West Ham off screen, and that bothered me. I didn't like the fact, like, so even in both 10 and 11, it feels like huge parts of the Nate story happen off screen. And I did not really like that. And I will say I don't remember if it was 10 or 11, but like I'm finally on board with Nate and Jade. I'm finally on board with those two together because they like she's actually turned out to be really supportive and really sweet. And then I know in 10 you finally get, honestly, the second half of 10 is incredible. Because the second half of 10 you get this massive moment for Nate where he gets the thing he's been chasing for 3 seasons. And I think you could argue it happens a little bit haphazardly. It happens kind of like it doesn't happen related to anything else in the show. Um, but like Nate has been terrified of his dad for like 3 seasons. He's been really deeply hurt by his dad for like 3 seasons. And you finally get that he gets this moment with his dad where they have this really, really difficult heart to heart conversation about it. And it's really good. Like it's a really, really sweet moment for Nate. And like that moment made me okay with the Nate redemption. It made me okay with the fact that Nate is leaning back to the side of good. Um, the fact that we're forgiving Nate. Uh, like it really, you really, really get that moment. Also you get the reuniting of Roy and Keeley in this episode. Which God, I love that. Like, been waiting for that for a whole season. Been waiting for Roy and Keeley to figure it out for a whole season. But it really did rely on Nate. I mean, not Nate. Roy believing in himself, like realizing that he deserves her. And he in his apology, he's like, "Yeah, I had my own insecurities and my own faults, and I realized that those faults hurt you." And they don't even like get back together. They just, bump uglies a little bit. um, but they have this like he's like, I'm sorry that I let my insecurities and my problems hurt you. And I love you. And yeah, just a really, really cool moment. And then you get like a resolution with Rebecca, because she starts this show angry at the world, angry at football, angry at Rupert, and you get this moment where Rupert invites Rebecca to a meeting with Edwin Akufo, who was in last season, who's trying to start a new soccer league that would make tickets far more expensive and would just hurt the fans and hurt the town basically. And so she like calls him out on it uh in this really, really great speech, and that speech is intercut with Nate's resolution and Roy's resolution. This was really like this episode 10 was the resolution of it was the first like half of a bunch of the resolution of the character arcs. A bunch of the resolution for these characters. Um and so she gives that great speech and actually like laughs with Rupert for a second. They like even like in her own way kind of finally forgives Rupert for all of the things that he did to her without like, they're not friends. I mean, they're friends, but they're not like, they're not anything. Just this moment of like forgiveness. Although I think Rupert tries to kiss her and she like stops him. And then, you get they kind of forgive. She kind of forgives Rupert a little bit. Um, and I really, really did like that. Trying to remember anything else that happened in 10. Because like I kind of want to really get to 11. I kind of really want to get to 11. Episode 11 of Ted Lasso season 3 is one of my favorite episodes of the entire show. It was back to like season 1 level, a little bit of season 2, around the same time in season 2. And it made everything that the show has been doing, even the stuff I thought I was a little bit iffy on or a little bit felt like a little the stuff that felt a little bit like a mistake. It made all of it make sense. It made all of it fit, and it really, really like brought the show home. It really, really like the show has always been like really powerful, and it's always been like a show that really, really at least for me was there like was kind of a guide for life. That's kind of been what the show is. And in season 1, and I'm going to do a whole video on Ted Lasso at some point once it's over. But in season 1, you meet Ted and you think he's perfect. You think Ted has it all figured out, and he's perfect, and he's like, you think, like, I even had this conversation with my dad earlier. You think Ted is this unattainable supernatural force of good in the world, and you then spend the next 2 seasons realizing that even Ted has he's a lot like Nate. He has his own he's deeply insecure and deeply, hurt by life. And he still has his own things to work through. And in this episode, and this episode really clicked. That really made that click of like, oh yeah, this is doable. I can get there because Ted's hurt too. Ted's hurt too. Ted is hurt too, and he's done the work. He's gone from using that light, his happiness, his positivity, as a way to like deflect from his own pain, and now he's using his positivity as compassion, as love, as vulnerability. And you really, really but he's also learning to stand up for himself and to be honest about what he's feeling and to, be real and be true and be, vulnerable. And you really, really get that moment in what might be my favorite scene of the entire show. He has a scene with his mother, because his mother shows up, which is not really a callback, but there's a call, like, there's a line in season 1 or 2, it's season 2, where he's like, I love meeting people's moms. It's like getting a blueprint on why they're nuts. And then in this episode, you meet Ted's mom. You get a blueprint on why he's nuts. And in this episode and in this scene, he gets this moment of just kind of unloading, but doing it in maybe not like the best way. Like, he does apologize for the way that he does it, but she's there. She's doing what Ted does. She's being overly positive. She's like hiding what she's really feeling, because conflict is not fun. And so she like makes like 2 dinners, because and he's like, thanks for making dinner, both of them. And she's like not wanting to talk, so he's like, thank you for making dinner, both of them. And he's like, and fuck you for not wanting to talk. Like, he has this speech, the thank you, fuck you speech, that is like, that was so cathartic for me personally. Just that feeling of, because I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of the show that this was not a great week for me. And well, where was I going with that? I mean, but like, it was so cathartic to see, to get to learn the lesson of you can love people and you can tell them hard things. You can tell them hard shit. Just, yeah, one of the best scenes. And then you get the end of it, where she finally is like, your son misses you. And then you get this moment where he's like, I know, but I'm just so scared to get close to that little boy, because I know he's going to leave. which just really, really like stabbed me in the heart. Like that was such a beautiful moment, such a beautiful like. Just it was exactly what Ted Lasso has always been, but like in a season that has been a little bit more iffy. So it just feels like a nice return to form. And this episode really, really like, oh yeah, no, this has all been set up. This has all been set up. This is like, this show is coming to an end. The show is, because I mean, you get that moment, and then he goes into work the next day, and Rebecca's there because it's truth bomb time. In season 1, episode 9, she drops the truth bomb that she wanted Ted to fail. In season 2, episode 11, she drops, I want to say it's the Sam thing, the truth bomb about Sam, I think. Maybe? I think. And then in this one, she's there and she's like, I got nothing. I have nothing. I don't know. I don't have a truth bomb this year. I got nothing. And Ted goes, oh, that's fine. I do. Cut to black. Roll credits. What's the truth bomb? What is? Oh, you know what the truth bomb is. Ted's leaving. Ted's going home. Ted's going home to be with his son. Ted's going home. Ted's going home. But he gets this moment because the other plot of the episode is Jamie feels really Jamie's stressed. Jamie's like a mess right now, and he doesn't really know what's wrong, and he's like, in a really bad place. And Roy and Keeley kind of come together. They're just friends, but Roy and Keeley kind of come together to help Jamie work through whatever it is he's going through, and they do that. They get through that. So then you get this moment at the end of the episode where, like, in season 1 or 2, I think it's season 1, Ted walks by a door, and it's a door, and Jamie is in the door, and he's sitting there, and Ted almost goes in to open it, and then something like flies across the window, and Jamie's dad is yelling at him. And then you get a mirror of that scene here where Ted walks by the door and Jamie's there, but he's sitting there with Roy and Keeley smiling and laughing, and they're friends, and Ted gets to see that he's truly made an impact where he is, and maybe he's made all the impact that he can. I mean, he's got one thing left to do, because the other thing that like happens off screen is the rest of the team forgives Nate, and they're like, you should come back to Richmond. Which like, and at first Nate is like, no, I don't want to do that. But it's I mean, that's probably the end game of the show is Ted leaves, Nate becomes head manager at Richmond, and Beard stays. Well, he does get offered the job because there's this great scene with Beard where Beard tells Nate his backstory with Ted and about how much of a second chance Ted gave him. But yeah, this is it. I love this show so much. I could talk about it for hours. And I'm not ready for it to end. I'm not at all prepared for the end of this show. But I mean, you know what Ted would say? I don't know what Ted would say. He'd probably say something along the lines of everything has to end. I guess it does. Yeah. Great show. Go watch Ted Lasso, please. It's my favorite show. It's my favorite show of all time. And this, like, it's nice to actually feel that again. Because, like, for a minute there, I was like, yeah, season 1 might be my favorite season of television of all time. Season 2 and 3 aren't as good. But now that we're getting all of the resolution of everything, the whole thing just feels so much better. Yeah, just one of my favorite shows of all time. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Let me know what you thought of the last couple episodes down below. Let's jump into some movies, actually. Okay, so the first movie that I watched this week, and kind of in preparation, not really. I was like, I don't know if I want to see this movie, but maybe watching this other movie will help me make this decision. I watched the original Little Mermaid. I had never seen it. that's like one of those things that like just missed me. I think I've seen every other Renaissance film. I kind of missed Hercules too. Like I've seen Hercules now, but it was like I wasn't. It wasn't one of the ones I watched when I was a kid. I don't know how much I watched Lion King because at first I didn't like Lion King. Don't get me wrong, Lion King is like top 2 or 3 animated films of all time. Um, but yeah, so like but I think now I've seen every single Disney Renaissance film. And then yeah, I think I've seen all the Disney Renaissance films, and then but other than The Little Mermaid, which is the last one that I hadn't seen, so I was like, man, I better watch it. I better watch it because I can't just like I kind of want to go see the new one. I haven't seen the new one yet, and I will say this movie did not make. I was like trying to decide if I wanted to go see the new one, and the original Little Mermaid did not make that decision easier. I think it has the Disney magic. I think it's really good. But like there's some. I think it's good, but there's some problems with it. There's some issues. I love the entire supporting cast. Sebastian, Scuttle. I love Scuttle so much. Flounder, amazing. Those three and their little subplots of like trying to help Ariel, and Sebastian's like role in it because like when you meet him, he's a choir director. Yeah, just a really really good like just a really really good supporting cast. Even Eric, which like I have some problems with Eric because like he just doesn't get a lot of development, which I've heard they develop him more in the remake, which is actually interesting to me. It's weird because like I have some issues with this movie, and it sounds like the remake actually addresses a lot of the issues that I have with the movie, but there's also some other stuff in the movie that looks terrible. Like just visually, the movie doesn't look very good. So I don't know what I'm gonna think about it. I might wait till Disney Plus, honestly. I don't know. But yeah, I love the supporting Ursula is like one of the best Disney villains, and like even like the supporting cast. Ariel as a character is amazing. Ariel's probably a top 3 Disney princess. I was trying to think of like what my actual ranking would be. Yes, I'm a 20-year-old man ranking Disney princesses in my free time. Yes. But I was like trying to think of what my actual ranking of that would be. Probably top 3 would be Ariel, Mulan, and Rapunzel from Tangled. I like Tangled was one of those movies that I grew up on, so that's got to be in there. And then Mulan is just like I feel like it's the boys Disney princess movie because it's it's a story about grit and action and there's some darkness to it. Yeah, it's just good. And then but I do think this movie is like lower tier Disney Renaissance. Like it's lower like it's not like it's probably like bottom 5 because I think the supporting cast is great. All of the songs are amazing. Like I was actually underwhelmed by Under the Sea. I'll just be honest. I was a little bit underwhelmed by Under the Sea. But you know what I wasn't underwhelmed by? Kiss the Girl. That song is a bop. Kiss the Girl's a bop. And Part of Your World might be the best I Want song. Like that song is just incredible. Yeah, but I do think they I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to explain what I mean. They don't develop the romance enough. They don't develop the romance and like the relationship between Eric and Ariel is incredibly underdeveloped, and you don't really. And this is probably a Disney thing, but they don't really develop why these two characters like each other. They just have this love at first sight moment and fall in love, and that's it. he's like obsessed with her voice, but then he hears someone else with the exact same voice and falls in love with her immediately. Obviously, there's like some magic involved and whatnot. But so yeah, they don't develop the romance enough, and then I thought the plot was just weird. Like what Ursula's actual scheme is just kind of weird, and I thought like it felt like once they get to land, that was the sequel. Like the Little Mermaid, like you could have spent so much more time underwater developing that world, developing Triton, developing the sisters, um, and they just don't. They go off onto land. Um, so yeah, I just thought that was a little bit weird, and yeah, but so yeah, I thought the plot of The Little Mermaid was a little bit underwhelming, but the animation is absolutely gorgeous. There's a chase scene with a shark that I thought was actually really cool. Like I thought actually had some like some speed to it, and like it was edited really well. Um, yeah, so it's good. It's good. It's good. Not my favorite movie, not like it's a Disney movie and it has some of the magic, but not like my favorite Disney movie of all time. Not really going to be in conversations of all time favorite animated movie, but Ariel's probably a top 3 Disney princess, and the supporting cast is all wonderful. Kiss the Girl is an absolute bop. Most of the songs in this movie are an absolute bop, but like Kiss the Girl especially, absolute bop. Um, yeah, great, really good movie, really good movie. If you haven't seen it, if you're like me and haven't seen Little Mermaid, you should go check it out. I have a feeling there's not a lot of people like me, and you've probably seen it. Go ahead and let me know what you thought of The Little Mermaid down below. Let's reminisce about our childhoods for a second. Yeah, let's jump into the next movie. Okay, do y'all have those movies that you had to watch like a couple times before you really got it? For some reason, that happens to me with Spider-Man movies. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, I absolutely hated the first time that I watched it. I hate it. Like I did not like I mainly because I thought John Jameson got screwed. Basically, I thought John Jameson was just a good dude. Like J. Jonah Jameson's not a good dude, but I thought John was just a good dude who found someone he liked, and they were gonna get married. And then Peter just swooped in and like stole his girl. Like that was the reason I didn't like Spider-Man 2. I had to watch Spider-Man 2 like 3 times, and then I watched it a third time back in like December and went, no, this was back in December. This was like not that long ago. Maybe it was a year ago. Maybe it was right before No Way Home came out. I can't remember. Um, but then I watched it, and it was that Danny DeVito meme of like, I get it now. I understand. I get it now. And yeah, Spider-Man 2. I mentioned this. I think last couple of weeks. Was the only superhero film that I had given 5 stars. Um, yeah, that movie really clicked, and it's really good, and it's like a perfect Spider-Man story about Peter has all these things he wants to do, but he can't do them because he has the power. He has power, so he has responsibility. Blah 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 blah. I'm talking too much about a movie that that I didn't actually watch this week. The movie that I did watch this week is related though. Um, so like, and don't get me wrong, I really liked this movie the first time that I saw it. I saw it in a double feature with Aquaman back in 2018, and that was a really fun double feature. I'm talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But I didn't love it. Like I liked it, but I didn't love it. I thought some of the plot was just weird, and this is the crazy thing. I thought it didn't really have that much of an emotional core. Like, I didn't really feel it. I don't know what kind of narcotics I was intoxicated by. This is maybe my favorite comic book movie. Like, Spider-Man Across the Into the Spider-Verse is amazing. Uh, Maybe it's because I've spent so much time studying films and watching animation and studying animation. Um, but when I first saw it back in 2018, I watched it one more time on when it came out on Netflix later that year. Maybe it was the next year. But like I hadn't seen it since. I didn't I for some reason it didn't click just how incredible this movie looks, how incredible the animation is. But it's one of the best achievements in animation I've ever seen. Like, it's one of the best achievements in the realm of animation that I've ever seen. The mastery of the medium, the way it'll use like a single shot to set up something and then pay that off in another single shot an hour later is mesmerizing. And the way it uses the animation to give you that window into Miles' head is amazing. And also, like, I remember talking to someone about the movie when I saw it, and they were like not really familiar with comics or that stuff at all. So they were like, how can somebody who's not Peter be how can somebody who's not Peter be Spider-Man? How can there's only one Spider-Man? And it didn't click initially that's like the point of the movie. The point of the movie is answering that question, how can someone else be Spider-Man? Literally, like, Miles asks that exact question at the beginning of the movie. And he asks that question of, like, how can someone else be Spider-Man? And his arc in the film is accepting his role as Spider-Man. Because the Spider-Man of Miles' Earth is perfect, blonde hair, blue-eyed, got the lusciously incredible voice of Chris Pine. Oh my god, I watched 2 Chris Pine movies this week. We'll talk about it in a minute. But got the lusciously incredible voice of Chris Pine. And he's perfect, and he's very famous. Everything's going his way. And then, like, Peter B. Parker is Peter, but he's been beat up. He's a mess. He's, been at it too long. He's old. He's putting on some weight. He's lost his wife. He's lost his aunt. He's lost a lot. And then you get like Gwen, who's obviously a woman and not Peter. And you get Penny and Peter Porker, and in the movie Spider-Man Noir's name is Peter Parker, but I don't think his name is Peter Parker in the comics. But yeah, you get so many like versions. It has that framing device of, okay, let's do this thing one last time. I'm Spider-Man, or I'm Spider-Woman, or you get that framing device of, like, they're all telling the same story. They've all lost things, and they've all lost things, they've all been through things, and they all know what it's like. There's this recurring line that a lot of people say that's, "You're like me." And I haven't even begun to dig into what the allegory for that could be. It could be, it could be neurodivergence, because I think a lot of people in Hollywood are neurodivergent. Especially like in the realm of animation. But like, there's a lot of that, like, this is something that, like, you're allowed to own, and you're allowed to belong to it, and it's allowed to belong to you, and you're allowed to share it with people. Yeah, it's also just a love letter to what Spider-Man is. The Chris Pine Peter Parker stuff is a love letter to what Spider-Man is. The comics, the Christmas album, all of that is a love letter to who and what Spider-Man is. And all of that comes down to anyone can wear the mask. And then, I mean, maybe one of the best shots of the 21st century is when Miles puts on his suit for the first time and he goes up to he's like he's like hanging on the side of the building, and he jumps and the glass breaks and he's like diving, and then it does a reverse shot that's like the city's upside down and Miles is rising into himself. He's rising into New York. He's rising into being Spider-Man. Just one of those, like, God, one of those stories that just anyone can make a difference. Anyone can be something special. Whether you're a down on your like 40-year-old or a or a pig or a black and white detective. Just really special. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was already in my top 10 most anticipated films of the year. That first trailer blew my mind. The one where the scene with Miles' mother, because it really, really sets the tone for what that movie is. Because there's all this like there's 200 different Spider-Men, and there's Spider Horse, and there's jokes about Uncle Ben dying, and there's all that. But then at the center, there's this core story of family and belonging, and I think Across the Spider-Verse is going to be something really special, and I'm very, very excited for it. That's my take on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Go ahead and let me know what you thought about it down below. Let's move on to one last movie. Let's do this. Okay, so the last movie that I watched this week, basically I was bored and I had just seen Into the Spider-Verse and was like, I want to watch one more movie. And I wanted to watch Game Night, which is a movie from a few years ago, that everyone says is really good and has like surprisingly good action and surprisingly good intensity, but it's also a comedy. And it's directed by the guys who did Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Enunciation. And then I realized I couldn't buy it. Like, I couldn't watch it unless I rented it, and I had just rented Into the Spider-Verse because I wanted to see that before I watched Across the Spider-Verse this week. So I was like, well, dang, you know what is on streaming on Paramount Plus right now? Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. So I rewatched the D&D movie, and I think I liked it quite a bit better the second time. Like, I didn't raise its rating. Like, it's still 4 stars. But I think I liked it quite a bit more the second time. Because I know in my last review, which maybe I should have gone back and rewatched. So I know I said some of the fantasy elements felt really generic. I don't really know what I was talking about. Like, this movie does so much work to give everything a backstory and make everything feel lived in. So yeah, I thought all of the fantasy elements worked a lot better this time for me. Also, once again, the action is really good. Regé-Jean Page as the Théan Paladin, really does steal this movie. He's so funny and so charming, and just exactly what, like, he's exactly what you think of when you hear fantasy hero. He's like Aragorn, but nerdier. Well, I guess to some extent the Chris Pine character, second Chris Pine movie of the week. To some extent the Chris Pine character is like Aragorn because he's the reluctant hero. Ahapa. What's the line? Ahapa shaking off his slumber. He has so many good lines that are like very much fantasy gobbledygook, but he makes them work. I don't deal in alliterations, or I don't deal in. He has some line about metaphor, because he's like Drax meets like Aragorn, basically. But he's really good. He's really funny. And I love that he just like walks off, which I think is probably something that happens in D&D a lot. And then once again, like I love Jaden Smith's character. I think it's Jaden Smith. Jordan Smith? Whoever plays Simon. I love Simon. I love that. I love Simon the Sorcerer. Once again, Hugh Grant. Like in the time since then, they're like they showed footage of Wonka at CinemaCon, which is like a convention for theater owners. And one of the things that's in Wonka is Hugh Grant playing an Oompa Loompa. I want to see Wonka really bad now. I want to see Hugh Grant playing Oompa Loompa more than anything on earth. That sounds amazing. But yeah, just I so much of this movie works, and I was like thinking about it. It's kind of sad. We're probably not going to get a sequel. Like we might, but this movie made no money. This movie did not make a profit. So, we might not get a sequel, but it's really good. It's like Princess Bride meets Guardians of the Galaxy, basically. The action is great. There's an emotional heart to it. Like it did not expect the Dungeons and Dragons movie to make me cry. Yeah, like I don't know. It's just really, really good. It's just a really, really fun fantasy adventure. I love like all the different locations they go to. That was really cool. Yeah, it's really good. It's a really, really fun movie. It's really, really fun. It's really, really funny too. Like for some reason the humor didn't land for me that well the first time, except for the grave scene. The graveyard scene is one of the funniest things I've seen in movies in a minute. Just so good. just such a great scene. Such a great scene. But like, there's a lot in this movie that's really funny. Once again, I love Thumbershad, the dragon, the fat dragon. I love him because he's so lazy. He's just like sliding around. Oh, maybe I'll eat you. Whoa, whoa. I love Thumbershad so much. Yeah, it's really good. I didn't want them to kill Thumbershot. That was sad. They shouldn't have done that because he was just looking for a snack, bro. He was just looking for a snack. But yeah, like I don't know. It's a really, really fun, really, really good movie. Chris Pine's amazing. Michelle Rodriguez is great. The actor who plays Doric is awesome, and I would love, like, if we get a sequel, which I don't know that we will, I would love more of Doric. Because Doric like slowly like falls in love with this group of people and starts being really supportive. So I would love more of Doric going forward. And like the movie sets up a sequel with Zastam, coming back and, trying to take over Neverwinter. And I like, dude, Jonathan. I would really love it if Jonathan was here. I feel like Jonathan would really, really appreciate my story. We've granted your pardon! Oh my god. It's so good, man. It's such a good movie, dude. Yeah, it's great. Like, it's amazing. So smart too. Like I saw one review on Letterboxd that was like, this is what Marvel thinks it has. And that's so true. Like, don't get me wrong, Marvel movies are great. Guardians 3 is my second favorite movie of the year. Don't get me wrong. But this movie has so much more wit, and I don't know if it's because like Marvel is trying to catch a younger audience. The humor in this movie is so much smarter and quippier and more subtle and more dialogue driven, and I love it. Like, it's great. Yeah, I really, really like this movie. The Bradley Cooper cameo as well. The Bradley Cooper cameo is amazing. Because it's so random, but it's so funny. Yeah, it's really good. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves is really good. There's been a lot of like really good movies this year. There's only been there's only been a couple that I think are great. There's been a lot of really good movies this year. It's been really fun. It's been really fun. I love movies, y'all. Movies make the world go round. I love them so much. Let's jump into the outro because that's what I got to say on that. Yeah. Okay, and there you have it. That is episode 19 of the Cinephile Diaries. We're coming up on 20. That's insane. I should do something special next week. I don't know what, because I'm like, I got a lot of shit going on, but I should do something special next week. But yeah, we're coming up on 20. Wow. Anyway, that'll do it for episode 19 of the Cinephile Diaries. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you liked the rapid roundup thing. I hope that like I don't know. I think I want to keep doing that. I might clip that out and post that as a separate video on the YouTube channel as well. Or just post it, or just clip it, post it on the podcast too. But yeah, that's my take on movies and TV for the week. Hope you enjoyed. Feel free to let me know what you thought about everything I talked about down below. Let's start a conversation. Let's start a community. Let's start a thing. Start an entanglement. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Anyway, yeah. That's what I got to say about movies for the week. We will see y'all in the next one. Feel free to comment below. Let me know what you thought. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Do all the great podcast things. And we will see you in the next one. She is throwing potatoes.